What's up, everybody? How's everyone doing tonight? We're on to episode 9 of the Main Line and Beyond with Marc Singer, and pretty excited about the show tonight. My friend Danny Mayer, who we've known each other for quite a while. It's an interesting story. And he was supposed to be on Monday, but you were playing in Asbury Park?
Yep. How
was that?
It was great, man. I've been doing there's this band, Ocean Avenue Stompers, and you know those dudes?
I haven't heard of them.
It's this guy, Ian Gray, is a trombone player.
Okay.
He was in Corey Wong's band for a while.
Yeah, for sure.
Fucking ridiculous.
Yeah.
He has this band, Ocean Avenue Stompers, and they've been kind of hiring me to do random Monday nights. They have a weekly thing there, and I kind of just get to pick and choose which ones I want to do.
Okay.
But this week it was they were in a bind. He was like, I need you, bro. So
Sweet.
I got out there.
Nice. Asbury Park's a cool scene.
It seems to be a cool scene.
I haven't really gotten there, so I was it was sort of asking you in question, but it seems that way. A lot of music venues.
There's some I've toured through there with bands, but I've never really hung there ever. Mm-hmm. And I don't know, man. It seems to be like a hip little town. It kind of reminds me of Santa Cruz a little bit. It's there's just it's artsy. There's definitely some hippies. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? There's definitely music venues. And, but this dude Ian, he's got this whole scene dialed there. He just knows a bunch of musicians and different. He just puts bands together. And it's been cool to get to know some people through there. I've met some ridiculous musicians through him.
Nice.
Yeah.
Which venue was it again?
Dude, it's a spot called the R Bar, and it's just it's a restaurant that has this little stage up on the side of it, and it just people half the night people are sitting there eating dinner, and then it turns 10 or 9 o'clock at night, and people start showing up and start partying.
Sweet.
Cool. Yeah.
Beach towns. I feel like they're always a little more vibrant in some ways.
Yeah, it's a cool vibe there for sure.
Nice.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the first time we crossed paths was way back. I was living in Havertown in my mom's basement at the time. I don't even know if you remember this, but I had just, I was pretty new to playing. So and I had a little setup, and you just picked up my guitar, and I'm like, hey, this guy's pretty good.
I remember you saying that to me. When we reconnected at some point, you're like, hey man, you remember playing in my mom's basement at one point? And
okay.
It was so far back in there.
Yeah.
That was
right.
Oh my God, I kind of do remember that. And the more I think about it, the more I'm like, oh yeah, of course I remember that. But it's a deep, that was a long time ago.
Yeah, it sure was. For sure.
It's deep back in the Rolodex.
Totally.
Memories back there.
But you were living up in New England, and that's where you were kind of getting more into playing with bands and things like that.
The New England stint was it was I was just telling you, I was on farms and shit there.
Right.
And I wasn't playing. I was I had an acoustic, and every once in a while I'd pick it up, but I wanted to play bad. And the lack of music up there is really what kind of propelled me to pursuing it even more. There was just nobody to play with up there.
Right.
So I was like, fuck, man, I really want to play. Mm-hmm. I think if there was a community of musicians up there, I may have never left. I would just stayed and found my little niche, but it was a pretty barren scene for music up there when I was living there. So it kind of forced me to just get the fuck out and start trying to actually pursue it.
Got it. Because you grew up in Florida, right?
Yeah.
But not so much music for you down there at that time.
No, Florida, I was getting in trouble. I was getting in trouble down there, and I got sent to a boarding school.
Okay.
In New Hampshire.
Okay.
Which is how I ended up in Vermont.
Got it.
So I left Florida when I was 16.
Okay.
So I wasn't even, I was starting to play. I'd seen the Grateful Dead a couple times and was like,
okay,
I was way in, saw Jerry and the band for
nice.
A 3-night run in Miami.
Okay.
When I was 14. I just turned 14. And it fucking blew my mind and kind of sent me in a hole. But I started getting in trouble after that. Because there was no other hippies in Florida. tuned into that scene, you know what I mean? And I kind of came out of those shows being like, I have seen this whole other world that none of you know anything about, and you're all full of shit. And there's this real shit happening over here. And
so which part of Florida was it? Like Fort Lauderdale?
Yeah,
okay,
exactly.
got it. Because that's the area I've gone to the most, but I don't know like the Gulf Coast or like any of that. You know, those other parts.
It was like North Miami, Fort Lauderdale, and it just wasn't super hip at all.
Right,
you know?
right.
It was just, I was like the hippie, you know. At my school, it was like the only one.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
I didn't know it was quite like that.
Yeah, at that time it was 93, 94. You know, there was nothing going on around there.
Got it. Interesting. Yeah. When I visited, there was a Grateful Dead tribute, Crazy Fingers. It seemed like everyone.
I grew up seeing them.
Yeah.
That was like 45 an hour north of where I grew up.
Okay.
And it was like, and that didn't start blowing up until kind of right before I left.
Okay.
In like 96.
After Jerry died.
Right. It really blew up.
Got it.
And that became this like little haven. And then they shut that down a few years later, I think.
Oh.
It was at the spot, like the wharf. It was like this big, beautiful spot that they played at on the beach. And they just shut that shit down.
Oh, damn.
Yeah. Yeah.
Terrible associations with Florida.
I didn't have the greatest time growing up there, especially like counterculturally, you know what I'm saying?
I follow you, yeah.
But now I go back to visit and I'm like, fuck, man, I get it. As an old man, I'm like, I could live here, you know?
Right. Yeah, certainly different parts of it, you know? There's like a lot of different culture depending where you are in Florida, it seems like. So yeah, let's, get into the nitty gritty. You mentioned the Grateful Dead, you mentioned Jerry, but, I've been hearing you're playing for quite a while, and you got guys like Grant Green in there.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you say?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've gone through some phases. I've gone through some, like, I never studied jazz. Like, I wouldn't say that, like, anything super jazzy is my wheelhouse. But all the, like, soul jazz shit, like the funk organ trio jazz crossover.
Jimmy Smith,
right. Like, later, and all that Grant Green, like, Live at the Lighthouse stuff. Kind of, so, when I first moved to Santa Cruz, I really wanted to start playing music, and I really wanted to put a band together, and I just kind of put together this organ trio called On the Spot Trio.
Right.
And it was kind of modeled after, like, Soul Live and MMW and like, that kind of...
I could see that.
You know...
Funk, danceable jazz.
Yeah, whatever you want to call it.
Right.
It was like this kind of second coming of soul jazz. They were all on Blue Note Records still. It was still, like, considered jazz, but it was like there was hip hop and a lot of funk in there, and but like super jazzy melodies and cool chord changes and shit. And I really wanted to play music like that. So I kind of, and then diving into that kind of stuff exposed me to the original dudes who did that stuff, like Grant Green and Jimmy Smith and like Jimmy McGriff. I remember listening to a lot of like organ trio shit. And I really like developed kind of like I really loved that stuff. Yeah. There was like a 5-year stint of my life where I was like, that was all I was listening to. It was like, that's what I wanted to sound like. And that's, but I could never really sound like those people. It was like, I don't know. I could never really not be myself.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I'd like take a little piece of something that I heard. Wasn't really a transcriber. I could never really like straight up copy people's solos. They'd be like, I think he's doing something like this. And I'd just like incorporate whatever I wrongly thought that was into my guitar playing and developed a weird vocabulary of my own, you know? Okay. But there's a lot of Grant Green in there, for sure.
Yeah, but well, I don't know why I know why I threw that name out there, but and I knew that Kraz was a big influence, right?
Yeah, he was a big influence.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, in a lot of ways.
Is that right?
Yeah, I think seeing, like early on, he was kind of like the first guitar hero that I had that I could actually like go talk to at shows. You know what I mean? Like a lot of the other dudes I was seeing were like really heavy jazz cats, and then they were like at jazz clubs, and they'd disappear behind the curtain after the show, and it was like, you didn't try to go talk to them.
Right.
You know what I mean? But like, I'd run into Kraz at like Jazz Fest in New Orleans and talk to him for a while. And I knew Al pretty well. And so I got a real, I don't know, I got to be like pretty close friends with him before he asked me to be in his band and all that shit. It was like, we had this great rapport always, really.
Okay.
He was always down to like help what I felt was like the little cats out, you know what I mean? Like the guys like me trying to be like him. He'd kind of give me advice and guidance, and I've learned a lot from him.
And then, I mean, to the point where he asked you to be in his band.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, eventually it led to that.
Right. That's pretty cool, man.
Yeah.
Well, you know, when I think of him and you know, pretty much any of my favorite players, I think of phrasing and tone, you know, and
Yeah.
and I always think that, you know, the characteristic that I'm always looking for is people that have their own signature voice on the instrument. Mm-hmm. You know, because so many guys can shred all over a guitar, but a lot of times you can't tell one from the other.
Yes.
You know, and that's, you know, I know you're a fan of Derek Trucks. Mm-hmm. And didn't you get to open for him?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, Alan Evans Trio. Actually, at the time, it was Alan Evans' play-on brother. It was like kind of a more, just a rock and roll iteration of the Alan Evans Trio, which was more of like the soul jazz kind of organ trio stuff. We started playing like Hendrixy rock and roll kind of shit.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
And it just changed, the whole music changed. So he kind of changed the name to match it. And so it became Alan Evans' play-on brother. And we did like 5 nights opening for Tedeschi Trucks band. Those were some of the last shows we played before that band kind of disbanded.
Okay.
But it was so fucking beautiful, man. It was like playing in these beautiful theaters. Opening up for those guys,
I
which
bet.
every night being able to stand there and watch just the most beautiful music ever, you know?
How about that?
Oh, man, that was beautiful.
Yeah. Did you get to sit in with them at all? Or?
No, man, I have a funny story about that.
I thought you did for some reason,
The
yeah.
first night of... this is like something that still like eats at me. The first night of that run, I had known Falcon, the drummer for Tedeschi Trucks band, through like my older brother. I met him when I was like 14. There's weird circumstances.
Okay.
Northern Florida. It was just the whole other side tangent. But
Okay.
we put it together the first night of that run. Like, oh my God, you're Andy's brother. Dude, I remember you hanging out at my place in Pensacola. And we put this whole thing together, and Derek kind of heard the whole thing. Was like, oh yeah, we were jamming. I've known this kid since he was 14. And Derek was like, oh man, you've been playing, you should come jump in tonight. And I remember being like, I felt all the blood rush out of my face. You know what I mean? I was like, okay, man, you know what I mean? Like, I would fucking love to. And then I was pretty tight with their guitar tech too, with Bobby T's. And I remember like Derek's tech, longtime guitar tech, one of the best in the business. And I remember going up to him and being like, Derek asked me to sit in. I must have looked like such an idiot. I was like, Derek asked me to sit in. Dude, I gotta bring my pedals out. Like, I can't just go out there and sit in with these guys with just a Strat through a Twin, you know? Like, I need my pedals, man.
Right.
And he just kind of was like, gave me this look like, yeah, we don't usually do pedals with sit-ins. You might just have to go right to the amp. And I just was like, oh man, is there any way we could get my pedals out there? And then I could just tell he was just like, no, this isn't happening. And then it just never happened.
Damn.
And then we did 4 more nights with those guys, and every night he'd be like, sounded good. Derek, like literally, I'd walk off stage and be like, sounded good tonight, man. And I'd be like, cool, man. Yeah. I want to sit in so bad. You asked me, and it like never happened, and it just never happened.
Damn.
And I feel like I just like nerded myself out so bad, being like, please put my pedals out there. I need my pedals. And
well, I guess in particular with Derek, because he doesn't use any. Is that what you mean?
And just like it was, I feel like those dudes are like, either show up and you do what you do, and like that's just how it is, or like you don't need pedals. You know what I mean? Like, it was just like this. I felt like very amateur at that point. Like, now I would have been like, I wouldn't even think to ask. I'd just be like, yeah, man, sure. and then I would have gone out there and plugged into the amp if that's what they had for me, or
I'm
probably
sure
just turned it all the way up.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like I just know more now about how to handle different situations. Then I was like this nerdy little, like, I had no idea what to do. Derek asked me to fucking sit. This was like I felt like my pedals were like my safety net. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's your tone, it's your sound. I get you. Yeah, right.
And I just tripped out about it. I was like, I gotta get my pedals out there. I gotta get my pedals out there. Am I gonna get are they gonna bring them out in the middle of the song? Like, is it gonna be? I just didn't know. I just didn't know anything about how any of that shit worked.
Right. Well, I get it, because it's like, well, they're just giving me like a clean palette to work with, but I gotta, put my sound through there.
Especially
right?
like, I just felt so deeply insecure playing next to a dude like Derek.
Right.
And I just was like, I can't go out like that. I can't go play a clean little Strat sound. You know what I mean? Like, but now I definitely would. You know what I mean? Like,
you'd rather have the memory to play than not play.
But just
I guess,
even like, I just feel like I've learned enough about like how to play a fucking guitar since then. You know what I mean? That like.
Well, you sounded pretty good back then, I'm sure.
I'm sure, but it was like, it just was a mentality thing.
Totally.
I think more than anything.
I've talked to him before about Bobby Tees. Is that how
he's so awesome.
He is, man. But, and he was saying how he has to check the voltage in every room, and swap tubes out and get things just right. And, it's crazy. I've been playing through one of these newfangled twins with no tubes in there, and it's unbelievable.
Oh, the solid state.
The Tone Masters.
They weigh like nothing, and they variable.
Yeah, a lot of people are using them now, and it's pretty impressive, man. Yeah. Because they weigh less, or they're more reliable, and they've dialed them in now. Like the Cyber series, they had the digital screen and the whole thing. I never got into that, but this, you get the amp, and it's just that amp dialed in. Whether it's a deluxe reverb or whatever it might be.
I've been hearing good things about them.
Yeah,
I might have to venture over.
A lot of clubs are using them for like their backline amps. Like City Winery had one.
Right, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Solid state. Can't really.
Yeah, but like, I came up in the and playing around a lot of blues players in Philadelphia, and they were, tone snobs, vintage tone, tube everything, and some of those guys have even become converts to these newer quilters, and it's
I know they've gotten pretty good these days.
Yeah,
they've gotten pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, the last time I was in the Sam Ash, the guy was talking about how he doesn't even bring an amp anymore. And he just brings his laptop and has one of,
Jesus Christ.
And it's like, it's probably true. I bet his tone is really good, but, something about playing through an amp, right?
Yeah. I feel like in live settings, there's no, like, replacing that. Yeah. I've had to play gigs where I'm like, I don't have an amp, and I just go through the monitor, and it just sounds like direct into a board. It's fucking awful. It's awful.
I know, it's weird. Definitely.
I know there's processors and all the things these days, but...
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think John Kay, that's the way he rolls.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
So you're getting back out on the road again, like, pretty soon? Playing some gigs?
Yeah, man. Star Kitchen kind of just put out... We just announced... What's today? Thursday? Yeah, yesterday. We just announced, like, a little 5-night run. That's... I'm pretty excited about.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah.
I've seen you guys. Sounds great, man. It's a good mix of musicians. How did that all come about?
Wow. It really came about because Brownstein's kids and my kids are friends.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Huh.
And so my son, Jaden, or I can't even remember, it was Jaden, one of my kids was hanging out at his house a lot. And being like, oh, my dad plays guitar too. And, yeah, what's he play? It's like, he plays in Eric Krasno's band.
Oh, like you guys didn't even know each other?
Didn't even know each other.
Oh, okay.
At all.
Oh, okay.
Like, I'd never even listened to the Biscuits, like, ever in my life.
Oh,
like,
my
not
God.
even for, like, a second. You know what I mean? Like, I had no idea. It just wasn't, like, on my radar at all.
Yeah, I didn't necessarily see you as a huge fan, but I didn't know it was like, right.
No, I had zero knowledge about that entire world, which is wild,
right?
By the way,
yeah.
But so, anyways, my son kept kind of being like, "Yeah, my dad's a musician. He plays in Eric Krasno's band," and Brownie was like, he's a fucking guitar player, plays in Kras's band, he must be good.
Right.
And whatever. And then he started kind of like, he came to one of my kids' baseball games and ended up sitting next to me being like, hey, I'm Brownstein, I want to start playing funk music, and I hear you're a great funk guitar player, and do you want to hang out?
Right.
And I
Just like that.
Just like that.
Yep.
In my kid's baseball game.
Uh-huh.
Like a little league baseball game.
Right. That's the phase of life we're in now, I guess.
Exactly.
Yeah, right.
Exactly.
Well, that's beautiful, man.
Yeah, man. And then, like, I don't know, a couple weeks later, I think I went to his house and we played along to some, like, Aretha Franklin records or something. And I just kind of started going and hanging and playing along to stuff. And then Rob, beautiful dude, Rob Marsher, the keyboard player for Star Kitchen, had, I think, like, months before me and Mark started hanging out, had just moved to, like, Berwyn, Wayne area.
Okay, yeah.
And I met him through Jen Hartswick. I would sit in with her band. Oh my god, she's the best.
Yeah.
But I'd sit in with her band sometimes, and he was in her band. He was a keyboard player in her band.
Uh-huh.
And so when I found out he was living out here, I was like, Mark, we gotta get Rob in the mix. And then it turned out Rob's old band had opened for the Biscuits, like his high school band or something, 20 whatever years ago, had opened for Mark's band in Boston, and they had already known each other. It was like, Marsher from Addison Groove Project, are you kidding me? You know, and it was like, it just kind of fell in. Yep. And then finding a drummer was kind of challenging. I think we auditioned maybe, like, it was weird. It was like auditioning drummers, which I've never been in a situation where, like, we get together and jam with the guys. Like, thanks so much. We'll call you. You know?
Right. It is a little awkward. Yeah, right.
It just was so strange. But we did a few of those, and then Marlon came, man, and within, like, I don't know, minutes. Like, I remember Rob, the B3 was, like, kind of tucked in some corner, and Rob, like, had his back to everybody. And I think we just stopped in the middle of the song, and Rob just kind of said, so you busy for the next year or so or something? It was just like, Marlon just tied the whole thing together.
Got it.
And, yeah, man. And then, I don't know, Mark started putting a little energy into it, and we just kind of took off for a couple years. And then the pandemic hit, and everything just kind of stopped.
How about that? That was crazy.
How about that?
The last big show, I don't know if you might have caught it, but, you know, the Almonds played with, you know, the last version at Madison Square Garden.
Yeah, the Brothers thing, right?
Yeah, man. And I was like going to go, and because then they were like practically giving tickets away. But then everyone was like, there was all this fear surrounding COVID. I was like, I don't know if we should go. But I watched it. And it was a pretty incredible show. Unbelievable show.
Yeah, man.
And that way they tied it in full circle. They had Reese Winans on keys, which I don't know if you know that whole part of the story. But
I don't.
So he was the keyboard player, really, while Dwayne was forming the Allman Brothers in the South. Reese Winans was playing the keys, and then once all the pieces fell into place, because Dwayne and Greg went out to L.A. to do this record company thing, and they started telling them how to cut their hair, and Dwayne's like, I'm out of here.
See you later.
But Greg stayed out there, and then Dwayne put the band together, and he was like, all right, Greg. And then Reese Winans got the boot. So having him at Madison Square Garden was pretty neat.
Wow, man. That is some full circle shit.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I kind of did know it, but then when that happened, I like read up on it a little bit. But yeah.
That's super cool, man.
It was a cool show. But since you mentioned pedals and stuff like that, like, do you take a different approach depending on who you're playing with? Or you kind of go the same way?
That's a really good question, man. It's so funny you say. I was thinking about that the other day. Yeah. I kind of have had this board dialed in for a while now, and I kind of do the same shit no matter what scenario I'm in.
Okay.
But the music varies, so obviously you adjust playing wise, but yeah, I think I adjust just depending on what the vibe of the song is.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But, like, I don't ever swap pedals in and out depending on what band I'm playing in. Or, like, it's just, that's my board. I may not use the envelope filter as much on, like, you know, like, I don't know, one of these Ocean Avenue Stompers gigs. It's like very New Orleans based brass band music.
Right.
It's not very jammy, envelope filter, psychedelic shit.
Got it.
Even though I can't seem to get away from that, so I bleed it in a little bit, you know? I always use like a lot of delay and reverb and a sub octave or something, even in those situations, and kind of, you know, after like a few tight horn solos or like a really like tight keyboard solo, and put on some delay, and all of a sudden it like takes a trippy turn, even if it's like a straight funk tune or
right, or put a little something extra on there.
Yeah,
right.
I seem to like I seem to do that no matter what. Maybe to a fault, you know. But it's like
that's part of your sound.
It is. It's something that I've kind of like. I really love just bending a note and allowing the delay to just take off with it. You know, it's like and just keeps going.
Okay.
And then I'll stop it before another phrase. But I have this expression pedal that just, I'm leaning on that thing all the time.
Which one is it?
It's the El Capistan or the Strymon.
Strymon, yeah, got it.
They make a couple, but it's, I think El Capistan, I think is what it is. Stan. And but I've never had a delay with an expression pedal hooked up until this thing.
Okay.
And really being able to like control that is fucking phenomenal. Like, it's one of my favorite things in the world.
Okay, nice. Interesting. I'll have to check that out. That's good to hear.
It's so trippy. It's like you can, because to be totally honest, like one of my favorite things to do in the studio is just edit shit and like really mess with delays and delay swells and like be able to grab one note and make it just blossom into this feedback loop kind of thing. And now I can kind of do the same thing live with this pedal.
Nice.
It's the most fun I have with effects.
When did you blend it into your board?
Maybe like 2-3 years ago, I would say.
Okay.
I've had the delay pedal for a while. But the expression pedal edition, I think, was like, 2.5-3 years ago. It just kind of. I got it from the dude from Krongbin.
Oh,
I saw them like on Jam Cruise.
Okay.
And was really like checking the dude out, and he's kind of a genius the way he uses a wah and this delay pedal. Okay. And he just has this thing.
Oh, you didn't literally get it from him.
No, I just I was like, holy, he's using it in a really beautiful way. That's not super like annoying or like invasive to what's happening.
So whose expression pedal is it? Also Strymon?
No, it's just a regular Boss.
Oh, okay.
Cheap expression pedal. I think Rob Marshall actually just gave it to me. He was like, you should try this. That's what he's doing. And I was like, yeah, I need an expression pedal. I think I got one and it wasn't the right one. And he was like, you should try this one. And then it just has been on my board ever since.
Nice.
So yeah, thanks Rob, wherever you are. Changed everything for me.
And what kind of amp you playing through?
Man, I have, my good friend Wayne owns Headstrong amps. Okay. It's this dude Wayne Morley. Headstrong. They're just like really solid Fender based amps. Okay. And so I'm playing his, mine's a little weird custom. It's one called the Little King, which is basically a Princeton. And then he does a Little King,
low wattage, good wattage. Breakup.
Yeah, and like that Princeton circuit. And then he does a Little King S, which is like, you know, Princeton's 15 watts and a 10-inch speaker. And then he does the Little King S, which is a beefed up Princeton, so it's 25 watts and a 12 instead of a 10-inch speaker. Okay. And it's kind of like the perfect balance for me. And mine he calls like the jumbo because he put it in a bigger cab than he normally does. Okay. So it's
give it more resonance or something. Okay.
And dude, I haven't played another amp since I got this thing. Okay. Just kind of. It's the second one I've had. I sold the first one a long time. When I joined Al's band, we were so loud that this thing just could not keep up. Oh, wow. So I ended up selling it and getting like a twin, you know, because it was the only being loud enough.
Nothing. So, yeah, there's not going to be many bands that'll drown out a twin.
Right.
Yeah.
And I always miss that amp. Always.
They are great, man. It's such a nice, clean palette to work with on a twin. How can you really go wrong?
Oh, I'm just talking the Princeton. Like,
going
through the twin, which you're right, absolutely 100% right. But like, I always miss that.
Oh,
the headstrong.
It got drowned out by
And then when that band ended, I was like, oh, I can play one of these things again.
Gotcha.
And dude, I'm telling you, this 25 watt amp is like fucking loud.
Right, you're right.
It's so deeply loud. I'm like,
I believe it, yeah.
It's too loud for me most of the time, and it's 25 watts.
Right.
I'm like, I have it, turned down a lot of times.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah, no, totally. I mean, Steal Your Peach it's quite loud on stage. So it's something that we struggle with a little bit because, you don't want to only hear your guitar sound through the wedge.
Yeah.
I could just turn the wedge up and then your whole sound and tone is coming through that, and you don't want that. So.
It's such a struggle sometimes. Yeah. Finding that sweet spot.
Yeah. You sat in with us. I didn't forget, but that was like with Ron Holloway, who we're getting ready to play with in a couple weeks again.
Nice, yeah.
And that was, I think, Eyes of the World or something.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That was fun.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Anytime. We have to do that fun. Again. Yeah, that would be cool.
Yeah, man.
You're a soulful player, man. So,
Thanks, dude.
Yeah. So, like, one other guy I guess on the scene that I kind of would put in a similar sound and then I'm a big fan of is Eddie Roberts from the New Master Sounds. Mm-hmm. You like them at all?
Yeah, dude. Eddie's a good friend of mine.
Oh, is he? Yeah.
Yeah, and he's on a Star Kitchen track.
Oh,
he's
nice.
On we released 2 tunes on Color Red. He's got a record label, Color Red.
Okay.
And they're crushing. And Star Kitchen put out 2 singles with them, before the pandemic. So at least 3 years ago at this point, right? 2-3 years ago?
It was 2020, yeah. So, 3 years.
Time is so strange to me. It could have been 3 years. It could have been yesterday. Anyways, before the pandemic.
Yeah.
And Eddie takes a beautiful solo on a Star Kitchen track.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
But I've sat in with New Master Sounds a bunch and did a couple little runs with those dudes, and they're all like really sweet dudes. Real sweet dudes, yeah.
They've had Lamar Williams singing with them too, which is a pretty good fit, it seems like, man.
Yeah, it's like one of those things that on paper might not make too much sense, but then you hear it and it makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Like, he sounds fucking good with them.
I think so.
Yeah.
Totally.
And they kind of needed... I think, I think being in a band for they've been around for a long time.
Right.
And when you get 2 decades in with the same group of people, you need some fresh blood to change up the dynamic a little bit. You know what I mean? And so I think having a front man who can really do the thing, Lamar's incredible.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Sure.
And so having a dude like that. With those dudes, I think they all kind of were like, okay, we can now unite as a backing band for this guy, you know what I mean? Rather than falling into the same kind of dynamics after a long time. It could get stale, you know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So speaking of that, you have another new project that you're talking about.
Yeah, man. Yeah. That was kind of out of necessity in a way. I was really trying to make another push for On the Spot Trio, which has kind of been this beautiful band that just kind of exists in my life for almost 20 years at this point. Mm-hmm. And started in Santa Cruz, and but the keyboard player is kind of blowing up a little bit and has been really busy. Mm-hmm. And so he's not available to do as much as me and the drummer we're hoping to be able to do, and we kind of we got a couple gig offers, and one of them is this really nice Phil Lesh and Friends pre-show at Garcia's on St. Patrick's Day. And
Oh,
I felt
sweet.
like I didn't really want to turn that down, you know, but Chris Junker from On the Spot Trio wasn't available to do it, so I was like, let's put a fucking band together. And so I got Nate Edgar, who's from Nth Power,
Okay.
and just one of my favorite bass players ever.
Sick.
Just, yeah. Talk about tone and feel. He's one of my favorites. So we got him on bass. Same drummer, Andrew Klein from On the Spot Trio, who's an incredible Afrobeat drummer. And then we got Cyrus Madden on keys for these couple gigs. We have another like private one the night before on the 16th, the night before St. Patrick's Day. Like it's like a private beer club kind of thing up in Ketona, New York.
Okay.
So we have like 2 shows, and I just put this band together for these shows, and we're calling it Great Eastern Sun.
Great Eastern Sun.
Yeah,
Nice.
and we've never all been in a room together, so we'll fucking see what it sounds like.
Right. I'm sure it'd be great. That'd be awesome. That's the way to do it, man.
I kind of like put it together based on people who I just really love playing with.
Makes sense.
You know, it's like I really love playing with all these dudes. But never all played together before, so.
And you don't really ever sing, right?
I don't, man.
Yeah. Okay.
I really don't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a whole nother instrument. You know, not everyone can play and sing. Derek doesn't sing.
Yeah, totally.
No, you know, but there's another guy you had a connection with and maybe even sat in with. I'm a fan of is Marcus King, right?
Oh, God. Yeah.
That guy can sing.
Yeah.
He can sing, man.
Dude, he's ridiculous. That guy's oh, man. Yeah.
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 Was it you who were telling me you like crossed paths with him at some like house party or gathering in New Orleans or somewhere down south, or maybe it was someone else? Yeah.
The first time I met Marcus was terrible, honestly. For me. I'm not gonna lie. Alan Evans Trio was we were on like one of those never-ending tours, and we were in Greensboro, South Carolina, North Carolina.
It might be one in each. I'm not sure. Okay.
Honestly, could have been either. And Marcus was the opening band. The opening band for Alan Evans Trio.
Right. Wow.
He was, at the time, he was 16 years old.
Okay.
And they were like, we got to the venue, we loaded in, sound checked. Everyone in the venue was like, you heard this kid Marcus? Everyone who worked there. Like, oh, you're the guitar player? You heard this kid Marcus? He's 16. He
hilarious.
Sings like Warren Haynes, plays like Derek Trucks.
Oh
That's what
God.
everyone kept saying. I was like, and I was like, yeah, whatever. As I remember thinking, like, yeah, sure. 16-year-old kid, like, whatever.
Right.
And then they got there and they loaded in and sound checked, and shit you not, me and Al, it was Bo Sasser on keys at the time, and I think we were just sitting eating and like talking, and they started sound checking, and I think all 3 of us just kind of like couldn't even eat anymore. It was just like forks dropped, like all of us were just bugged out.
Yeah.
How good this kid sounded.
Yeah.
Like he was already like masterful at 16 years old.
Right. I believe it. Yeah.
Like unfucking believable.
Yeah, he's precise, man. Yeah, right.
He like melted my face, and then it was like, now it's your turn to go play.
Right.
And I remember being like, what am I gonna do now? Like, what am I gonna do with this little thing? You know what I mean? This guy just at 16 just made me look so bad.
And
you know what I mean?
He's got like friends and family in the building on top of it, right? Yeah. So
it was just unbelievable.
Yeah, well, he does have kind of it all. He's a good songwriter, good singer. So
I kind of watched him just, take off.
Yeah,
just really take off over the last few years. It's really, really awesome.
Yeah.
He deserves it. He absolutely deserves it.
Yeah, he's a special talent.
Yeah.
So, Great Eastern Sun, for all you know, could just be this few shows and that's that.
I have a feeling it'll be more than that. Yeah.
Okay.
I have a feeling there'll be some more shit. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, and it's like it's a like pretty heavy Afrobeat influenced kind of stuff.
Antibalas? It's a sound that I think of.
Yeah.
Right.
It's like it's no horns.
Right. Right.
But it's like those kind of...
I love that, man.
Klein, our drummer, is like he played in a band called Big Mean Sound Machine.
Okay.
And they were like I don't know, I want to say a 9 or 11 piece Afrobeat band.
Okay.
And he is so good at that shit. Like...
It almost never gets old, man. You know,
right.
I can listen to it all day, you know.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I'm trying to like fuse that Afrobeat, those like kind of grooves with more like James Brown bass lines and like rhythm guitar parts.
That sounds pretty killer.
Because they're so closely related, really.
Right.
It's like, I can't really tell you how or why, but there's just... It's like right there.
Well, it's like that whole thing that Derek does, the swamp raga, and how he tied in the blues with the Eastern, like the Indian classical sound.
And it makes perfect sense.
It does.
And you can hear how it makes perfect sense.
It's deep, man.
Right.
Yeah.
It is.
That's something that I've always loved. Because, you know, I mean, even on his earliest albums where he does like Mr. PC on slide guitar, which like... Before him, who was even thinking to do something like that on slide, you know.
Yeah, man.
He would play like a one-chord blues, you know, like a Sun House one-chord blues and just melt faces, you know, so he could take it way out there and, you know, really showing where it came from, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, man.
You know?
Well, he's really good at that.
That's what I mean.
Really good at that.
Yeah. For sure. So, yeah, I mean, I'm glad that we connected in this way.
Me too, man. Been a long time coming.
Yeah, but you're, you know, we're like neighbors nowadays.
I know. Yeah.
So that's cool.
It took me a total of 6 minutes to get here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good to hear. No traffic in between?
No traffic. No traffic.
Good stuff. So, you know, Star Kitchen is playing Ardmore soon. What's the date on that one?
4/20, a high holiday.
Can't forget that one.
Can't forget that.
Shit, I have a gig.
Do you?
Damn. Yeah. At Sherry Punjab, which you have to check out. It's a fun place, man. You should even play there. It's an Indian restaurant. On the person and the family that owns it are great people, and they love music and musicians. They own 2 buildings. So one building is an Indian restaurant. The other building, he put in a stage with a sound system, and he gets like all different kinds of music.
Where is it?
It's in Media.
Okay, cool.
Yeah,
Fuck, cool.
It's a neat spot. Yeah,
right on.
Yeah. So all kinds of different music, and good players go there, and it's like. It's pretty good to see. And he treats the musicians well. If you like Indian food, he'll take care of you.
Indian food, yeah, man.
So that's where I'm on 420. But everyone else should go to the Ardmore Music Hall for Star Kitchen for sure.
We got some special guests on that one. We have Jen Hartswick and
wow.
Yeah, some local incredible crushers sitting in. It'll be a fun night.
She is incredible, man.
Yeah.
Trombone, and what else does she plays like?
Trumpet.
Oh, trumpet.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's her.
Natalie's the trombone player. Yeah.
Trombone, right.
Jen sings like, oh my god, she's one of my favorite musicians and human beings in the world. She's one of the sweetest people ever. Yeah. Happy to have her always. And
you think like you and Kraz may connect again sometime down there?
He's playing at Ardmore Music Hall on the 10th, I want to say.
Okay.
Yeah. And he's staying at my house at night. Yeah.
Nice.
We're boys. We're boys still. I may pop in on a song or two.
Right on.
For that one, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
Cool, man. Well, we got to have you up with Steal Your Peach again soon.
Anytime, man.
All right, brother. Well, thanks for coming.
Thank you for having me, man.
And that will conclude episode 9 of the Mainline and Beyond with Marc Singer. Next guest on Monday is my friend E.J. Simpson. Local Philadelphia musician. A lot of people know he's multi-instrumentalist, been in lots of bands. He has some cool stuff coming up, including his yearly one-man show of the Jesus Christ Superstar, which is pretty impressive. All these shows are brought to you by my business, ilovemarksinger.com. I am also a realtor. If anyone you know out there has any questions about how to buy or sell a home, please don't hesitate to reach out. is something that, you know, I have a passion for. I want to help people. It'd be great to see, you know, look back in a few years and see a whole lot of friends that, you know, I was able to help out in that fashion. So thanks so much for tuning in, and we'll see you Monday at 7 with EJ Simpson, and you all have a great week.